You know what they say, the sun is new each day and it brings hope. And of course, the strength to get through with the day's challenges. Good morning and welcome to your perfect day starter right here on Channels Television. I am Bukola Koka, and of course I'm here with my brothers.
Welcome to the program. I'm Jeffrey. It's 3 days down the line into January, so we'll keep reminding people that the year has actually started. All of the people, everybody who used to say, I want to do this, that, and the other, including Bukola, the year is 3 days down the line. What have you done?
Thank you for the reminder.
Yes, you say you want to do things, so my job is to just be
I've started already, yeah.
Okay.
I'm pleased to announce that. Kylie.
You have started, yeah?
Yes, I have.
Just a few seconds into the show, triplets flying up and down. Good morning. Welcome to your perfect day starter. I'm Kalu Kikelu. I know for a fact that majority of people have not resumed.
Yeah, majority.
So this is me blowing the whistle right now.
They won't resume till Monday. Some would not even resume till like Tuesday, Wednesday.
And I'm talking civil servants.
Yeah.
I'm talking people who... I'm sorry, I just had to blow the whistle. I couldn't help it.
Some are still in their villages, by the way. So what I expect to happen is that this is where last man comes in. This weekend, expect a build-up of... No, let them not act surprised. You've done this thing for many years, so you shouldn't be shocked. You know, it's like a politician planning to go into office and you're not planning for saboteurs, then you're not a serious politician. I hate when they say saboteurs. Saboteurs are part of the system, unfortunately, so you have to plan for them. Because they will not like you to succeed. So this is the last man, every traffic official out there, brace up for impact. They are coming from the east, from the west, from the north, from everywhere they went to for 30 December, they are coming. And then the IG, the airports, those ones are for, I just got back. They are going back. According to Kalu, some of them are staying back. Well, however it is. So that's why we're blowing the alarm, according to Kalu, that, hey, resumption is on Monday. For some of you, we have not gone anywhere. We're here to serve you.
Why? 2024 was a tough year, Jeffrey.
It was really a tough year.
With many increases in the pump price of petrol, security concerns. I recall kidnapping at the beginning of the year, you know, that threw Kaduna State into some form of security challenges. Of course, we've seen some respite there. And we can talk about so many other challenges that Nigerians had to go through in 2024. And so please cut them some slack if they decide to take one extra day of rest, you know, enjoying the Yuletide and, you know, just gradually trying to, you know, ease off the hangover from the holiday.
It's not one extra day of rest, Bukola. It is now 2 extra days of rest. Again, I'm sorry, I'm just pooping the party. It's what it is.
But Kalu,
the holiday is January the 1st.
Won't you be grateful for 2 extra days of rest if you consider the kind of work that you do, the hard work that you put into
I will take it
your career.
If it is approved. Wait, I need to put it in proper context. Yeah. The public holiday is what? January the 1st. That was on Wednesday.
Yeah.
Yes or yes?
Yes.
Thank you very much. So
and they'll add another layer to it.
Exactly. So Wednesday and Thursday, holiday, Friday, holiday. Guess what? For some people, next week is a given as well. In fact, it is half working day.
For those who even go to work.
Exactly. 2024 was tough. I appreciate
Very
that.
Tough.
But we also need to put it in context. It was a great year for a lot of people. Profits were made. We need to be clear. Profits, record-breaking profits were made. People tore the nylon off new vehicles. People built new houses. I can tell you this for sure, Bukola.
I may have to use your own words, Kayode. You have to put that through to some data.
I'm telling the other side of the story, and this is from evidence. This is evidential, Bukola. I mean, the profit made is out there in the news.
Does it trump the evidence from those who went through a lot of challenges?
So data is data.
In 2024.
You present your data, I present the other side of the data. I'm just trying to say that 2024 was also a good year for a lot of people.
For some people.
A lot of people as well.
So the way you do those metrics is average on critical mass. So if we're 100 and more than 70% suffered, then everybody actually suffered. If you're 100 and 90% suffered, doesn't mean 10 people did not succeed. So it's about critical mass. But if you're 100 and 70, bought cars, then no matter what you're looking at, the system was good. So both of you are right. But when you look at critical mass, it was a very bad year for a lot of people. Food prices, energy prices and all of those numbers. So there's no way, even if inflation had gone to 100%, somebody will still buy a house, somebody will still buy a car, because it's not as if the money will disappear from the system. It just finds its way to some other people. Maybe they are smarter than the other people, or the system, the institution has made it better for them.
Maybe the system is skewed in their favor.
In their direction. So both of you are not wrong. Some record high numbers.
I see what you're doing here.
No, I'm not being politically correct.
2024 was great for both of you. I have to be honest.
Again, there's something else I observed
on this desk.
And I'm curious to find out from the handlers of the president, since I have not spoken to the president. I have observed, I think it started off from Muhammadu Buhari. I stand to be corrected. I don't know what it is with Nigerian leaders, and I don't want to call it lack of empathy. But in positional leadership, there is something you do, not just for the optics, just to give people a sense of belonging. This president, Bola Tinubu, has not visited any scene of incident apart from Borno. This president has. I don't know whether he has a phobia for those kind of things. I don't know what it is. But when there was a carnage on the plateau last time, all of the killings that have happened, all of the deaths that have happened, we see leaders in Western countries that we emulate go to the location of these things most of the time, just to give it people like, look, your leader is here, we can get this done. But this president haven't said, I think apart from Borno, when that flood happened, he doesn't show. I remember the same thing with Muhammadu Buhari. People were killed, I think in Benue. He did not show up. People were buried. He even sent the IGP then, and later he told the IGP, go there, sleep over. The IGP did not sleep over, and when they asked him later, do you know the man did not, he said he didn't know. You did not know? So I don't know what it is. Maybe you guys have an answer about leaders not showing up to scenes like this. This is part of leadership, to show that you're concerned for the people. That's what's on my chest.
Well,
certainly.
What's on everyone's chest this morning, we just may have to reflect also on, the disclosure by former President Olusegun Obasanjo about, the management of the refinery during the tenure of his predecessor, when, according to him, $750 million offer was rejected, by the government from the now owner of Dangote Refinery to manage the NNPCL. And he talked about, some of the challenges of the NNPCL. The NNPCL has already responded to that, but in the coming days, of course, it may form a talking point about the implications, for further management of state institutions, not just the refineries owned by Nigeria, but it also has a lot of implications, for the management of the Kaduna, Warri, and Port Harcourt refinery. Something that we should also talk about in the coming days.
Yeah, but he has been saying it like forever.
Yeah.
So he's been
not to worry. We're going to show Nigerians the video during Trends and give you your reactions to former President Olusegun Obasanjo's statement. But let's dive right into what we have for you on the show this morning. And it sort of ties into the reality for, well, I would say a lot of Nigerians, majority of Nigerians, and that's the humanitarian situation. But today we'll be speaking with various key stakeholders, this time in Benue State, to examine the root causes of humanitarian crisis in the state, with a focus on communal clashes, displacement, and resource scarcity.
And from there, we will be highlighting the story of one of Kadi's friends, of course, who made exceptional strides, we believe, in the past year, highlighting her success from marketing communications to establishing Dainty Delight. So we'll be having that conversation.
All right, just before that, you saw that PC fix. Yes, that's the person we're talking about, from PR to Pastries. And from there, there's a segment we call PC Fix. So all of the things that bother you around issues of your computer, your devices, we'll just have a few, kind of, what do you call it, tidbits,
yes,
if you will, to just help you get around it. You can have the next one.
Oh, yes. And This lady broke the internet, or the Nigerian side of the internet, maybe the African side of the internet, when she put out a tweet.
I never knew there were sites to this.
Oh, yeah, that she read 150 books in 2024. So it was different strokes for different folks. Some, it was just straight envy. Like, I'm still struggling to finish one book. You read 150. Some said, it's not even possible. How don't you have a life? So today, she joins us on the show. I mean, who says you can't read over 100 books in a year? So we'll be having a chat with Ezioma Kalu to understand her passion for reading and storytelling.
Reading 100 books in a year, right?
150
books in a year is a life. Well, when some things become strange, it shows, our taste and the patterns of our culture. But that is a life, and it's commendable.
Okay, as a matter of fact, we will be chatting with that young girl to find out exactly how she did it. But that will not be all. We will also be amplifying your voice on social media, X, your CTV Morning Brief, and we'll be right here to amplify your voice. But we'll take a quick break. When we come back, we'll bring you your top stories. Join us again.
Welcome back. And so, top on the brief this morning is the report that several persons have been wounded as gunmen allegedly invaded the Umuode Local Government Council headquarters in Ego, in Edo State. Chairman of the council, Mr. Kenneth Adodo, alleged that the people involved in the shooting were policemen from the Edo State Government House. This followed reports of impeachment of the chairman of Umuode and Oriowa Local Government Council by the elected councillors.
Now let's talk security, but this time in Imo State, where the Imo State Police Command has arrested a Catholic priest who allegedly shot a boy dead in that state. The incident reportedly happened in the St. Columba's Catholic Church in the Amaimo community, Ikeduru local government area of the state during New Year Mass, which is held on January the 1st. Although the victim's name is yet to be known, the boy was shot after he was reported to have thrown knockouts into the church premises.
And in business news this morning, the Nigeria National Petroleum Company Limited has invited former President Olusegun Obasanjo to tour the Port Harcourt Refinery. According to a statement on Thursday, the NNPCL said the move was for Obasanjo to verify the operational status of the oil processing facility in Rivers State. This comes after the former president had, in an interview with Channels Television, questioned the operational capacity of the refinery, which recently came on stream.
And on the international scene, the Israeli ministry, or the military this time around, says that it has struck Hezbollah rocket launchers in South Lebanon despite a fragile ceasefire with a militant group. The truce, which took effect on November the 27th, has been marked by mutual accusations of violations from both sides. The Israeli military says the strike targeted medium-range rocket launchers in the Nabatea area, while Lebanon's official national news agency reported at least 3 Israeli strikes in that area.
And from there, we move to sports news. In sports, Bundesliga side Hoffenheim have signed Nigerian forward Gift Orban for a fee of 9 million euros from Lyon. The 22-year-old had fallen out of favor at Lyon after joining them a year ago from Belgian club Gent and scoring only 5 times in 21 appearances. Kadi, we must consider adding an additional, practice to what we do when you consider some of these figures that we hear time and again. 9 million euros.
Well, when you do the plus and minuses, the taxes and the agents' fees and the rest, maybe we'll just stick to this one for now. But let's tell you more. In entertainment, Meghan Markle's lifestyle show is a premiere on January the 15th on Netflix. In the world of entertainment, the actress, wife of Britain's Prince Harry, has announced that she will launch her new lifestyle and cooking show on Netflix. So Netflix released a trailer for With Love, Meghan, which is an 8-episode series in which the Suits star will share tips on cooking, gardening, crafting, flower arranging, and hosting. So yeah, looks like 2025 will be packed for lovers of, well, I said the big screen, or this time the tiny screens, I don't know, your television or your mobile phones.
I talk about so many lessons on personal evolution there, from acting to royalty to challenges with family, and now to, you know, cooking, gardening, lifestyle. Even I recall, you know, when they turned their story into a documentary, you know, that hit the streaming platforms, and, you know, the whole world watched and had quite a lot to say. So
there you have it. Something exciting to look forward to, at least. I know that there'll be some sort of controversy in this one. But hey, let's now jump to what is trending, particularly what you've been saying about these trending topics. Remember, you can be a part of the show, #CTV Morning Brief, if you want to comment on any of the big stories, or just head over to WhatsApp. You'd see the number on your screen. So let's start off with former President Olusegun Obasanjo's statement about Nigeria's refineries. He said NNPC rejected Dangote's $750 million offer to manage Nigeria's refineries. And of course, the NNPC Limited has given a response. But you might want to listen to what former President Olusegun Obasanjo said in an exclusive interview with Channels Television. Kelly Giga was there to ask those questions. But take a listen.
You got a team together and they paid $750 million to take part in PPP, running the refinery. My successor refunded their money. And I went to my successor. I said, do you know? I told him what transpired. He said, NNPC said they wanted the refinery and they can't run it. And I said, but you know they cannot run it. But I was told not too long ago that since that time, more than $2 billion have been squandered on the refinery.
So there you have it.
Former President Olusegun Obasanjo speaking there. Well, he's only reiterating what had been said at the time of the announcement of the recommencement of operations of the Port Harcourt refinery, while saying his own views from a historical standpoint, albeit a different perspective. Those who have managed the refinery before have expressed concerns about the operational capacity. Yeah. I recall a statement, you know, from someone that we had interviewed, a former MD of the Port Harcourt refinery, speaking in his own reaction. He said, I quote, "It is blatantly deceitful to claim that Indorama Petrochemical Company in Port Harcourt produces high-octane PMS to blend with naphtha from the old refinery. Indorama Petrochemical Plant cannot produce PMS, period." And he challenged the publicity secretary of the NNPC, Mr. Shuned, to provide alternative information that could convince Nigeria about the operational capacity of the Port Harcourt refinery. And the reason I was reiterating earlier, that former President's comments, again brings into focus the concerns about the operational capacity of the refinery. But hey, what are you saying about this most recent development on the concerns about the capacity of all the refineries now, not just Port Harcourt refinery? Kadi, you have the first.
Yeah, Makana is the first user, and this is particularly in response to what the former president said about Dangote offering $750 million. It says Dangote had the vision of establishing his own refinery, which he ultimately accomplished. The moral lesson here is to learn to say no when necessary. Interesting.
Interesting thoughts there. King Luby says, if you look really hard, you will see that progress is coming and people are trying to stop it. They are gradually revealing themselves.
Okay, and as Johnson says, Baba doesn't like Tinubu. Or Baba doesn't like Tinubu is making refineries. Okay, I'm going to take that again. Basically, this is trying to talk about the relationship between the former president and the current president. Imagines that the former president does not like that the current president is making refineries work in less than 3 years. NNPC was under you as president for 8 years, but can't get those refineries working. Baba. All right.
Well, is that really the case here? I guess we'll let your opinions come through and not filter it. Nunayon, I hope I got your name correctly, says public-private partnership is the best way to give Nigeria a new breath of life. I imagine you meant to say. As much as government wants to be involved in doing business, majority of their focus should be on regulations. The private sector can do better in managing and sustaining our refineries. Power, refineries, and schools. Our rails, power, refineries, schools.
I think largely this president has shown that he's capitalist in nature, saying he doesn't believe in price control and the rest. So I'm not sure it will be far-fetched. But don't forget the current reality, poverty and the rest. So you need some sort of socialist mentality to be able to bring those people out of poverty. By the way, the NNPC Limited has, well, as we said earlier, invited former President Olusegun Obasanjo, because also in that interview, which you can find on our YouTube page, he cast some sort of doubts about the operations of the refineries. But the NNPC Limited, through its spokesperson, said, we warmly invite the president, former President Obasanjo, to tour the rehabilitated refineries. Says that his wisdom and experience are invaluable, and we deeply appreciate the guidance. So we'll see how this plays out. Will former President Obasanjo visit the refineries? We
will wait to see what will happen to that space in the coming days. But in response to, your disposition about this current president being capitalist, he also has a huge policy disposition towards, investment in the social space, for which we require a bit more accountability. You can talk about the distribution of monies to households. You could talk about the household reconstruction program, purchase of assorted food items. Where is the accountability on all those funds going into that space? We require that as well. And to other stories now. This time around, Kano State government rejects tax reform bills. This is one out of many opposing reactions now to the tax reform bills. Of course, recall the position by the Bauchi State government. Now it's Kano. So what are you saying? Aspol says first, what is the fundamental issue that northerners in the country are perceiving leading to the rejection of the tax reform bills? What are they afraid of?
All right, we'll take one more on this one. I think it's just sometimes this is very interesting to see the back and forth. Moshe Bolaton says, on what basis? That's how this usually starts. On what basis? I'd like to presume they must have read the bill and identified which sections they have problems with. So it says, can the governor kindly share with us the exact sections of the bill which Kano State is unhappy with and make suggestions? Sounds simple enough.
Simple enough, right. Let's go to another talking point now. Abia State Governor Alex Otti has announced a ban on all forms of payment in primary and secondary schools across the state. And the first user here is the rated Savage Man. Interesting name. A good man. This man has been making the news for positive things for citizens of his state.
And Sadiq says that please ensure that the necessary actions are taken. Yeah, that's the previous one from Slandy. But let's go over to the one from Sadiq that says, please ensure that the necessary actions are taken to keep the school running. And this is looking at the big picture, with the stipend for upkeep being a top priority. So it's good to maybe reduce what parents have to pay, but more importantly, also invest in education and ensure that the quality of education, the quality of teachers and their welfare is priority. I really don't subscribe to that teachers' reward is in heaven. I imagine that teachers should be priority. When they say essential workers, teachers should be one of them, because they are vital to the growth, the success or otherwise of any society. So,
very vital indeed also to the learning outcomes that we see in the results that the children put out time and again. Yeah. So we must balance the conversation and also look at infrastructure in the education space as well. What do the hostels look like? The toilet facilities look like? The learning tools look like? The classrooms? Up onto the next user, who is Imbuya Media, who says this most likely applies to public schools only, and it seems sensible provided those schools are well funded by the Abia government?
Well, another day we'll talk about how accessible education is to the vulnerable, really. But that's not the conversation for today. We've tried to spotlight some of these issues. Keep your comments coming in, hashtag CTV Morning Brief or on WhatsApp. We'll take a quick break now, and when we return, we'll dive into the big talking point of the day. Don't forget, you can be a part of it. As I said, the Morning Brief is on, and we're back soon. Stay with us.
Welcome back. Whilst we debate whether or not Nigeria was great or not great 2024, apparently, of course, the numbers say otherwise, that things were really, really tough and they have not gotten better. Just a few adjustments in the price of PMS, now less than 1,000. It was over 1,000 in most parts of the country. So those are the conversations a lot of people are having. But inflation is still at 34.6% as at November last year. And by this January 15th, we're going to know how it looks like in December. We can talk about food inflation, but we can also talk about some gains as well. But while we're discussing all of these big things at the macroeconomic levels, there are people who do not understand this because of insecurity in their states or in their communities. They don't live in their houses. They've left their ancestral homes. They're just all over the place, but they've been put together in IDP camps, internally displaced persons camps, and some of them have been there for many, many years because there has not been a clear resolution as to the peace, law, and order in the areas where they live and their communities. And these are the guys who, as a matter of fact, are responsible for some of the food we eat, especially parts of the north as well, places like Benue State, which is going to be our real focus today, the IDP situation in Benue State. It's called the food basket of the nation because of the arable land and the potential. Places like Benue, food should be literally littering on the street if it's that possible. But we've seen situations where communities that are supposed to be in their farms are now out there in IDP camps, now depending on the state and donor agencies to be able to survive every other day. So it's been a very, very difficult time for some of these people. So we're going to be talking to the persons who have been relating with these people, the persons who understand what it takes to bring to fore a strong narrative as to the plight of those persons who have now been caught up by issues of insecurity. It's been up and on, off and on. And so let's bring them in now. Professor Patrick Okase is a professor of history and developmental studies, Prince Abubakar Audu University in Ayingba, Kogi State. He joins us via Zoom. Dr. Helen Dennis Tenge, National Coordinator, Community Links and Human Empowerment Initiative in Benue State, joining us via Zoom from Makurdi as well. We also have Victoria Dar, the Executive Director, Elohim Development Foundation, Social Development Consultant. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for coming on the program.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Hello.
Okay.
Hello.
Maybe we need to mute some of our devices. So let's start with Professor Patrick on this particular one. I've just given a little background, just an overview of the situation of the IDPs in Benue State. But maybe you can give us a broader perspective as to the challenges these people face before we deep dive into some of the causes and what is really responsible for some of these things, and how we can look for a better 2025 in sending these people back to their ancestral homes.
Thank you very much for having me. The humanitarian situation in Benue State is very, very problematic. Since 2010, Benue State has been at the center of various types of crises. But unfortunately, it has been farmer-headers conflict, which has put the state in a very, very problematic situation. From 2010 to 2024, the state has suffered various dimensions of conflicts, which has put a number of our people in IDP camps. Studies have shown that the state government established 6 official IDP camps, while we also have well over 22 unofficial IDP camps scattered across the state. Now, whereas the official IDP camps had well over more than 100,000 displaced persons, the unofficial IDP camps has more than 500,000 displaced persons. Now, what do we mean by official and unofficial IDP camps? The official IDP camps are the ones established by the state government. The unofficial IDP camps are the ones established by displaced persons who couldn't find their way in the official IDP camp. And so these people have found themselves from home to homelessness. And in the last 7-8 years, in fact, some of them have been in those camps for more than 10 years. Most of those children have not seen the 4 walls of classroom in the last 10 years. Most of them have not seen their villages in the last 10 years, because for most of the communities that have been displaced, the headers particularly have taken over those places. I'll give you an example. In my local government, Benue West, where I come from, out of the 15 council wards, 12 of the council wards have been sacked by headers. They have not only sacked, but they have occupied those places, making it impossible for the farmers and the rural dwellers to go back to their homes and carry out their legitimate business. Now, most of these people are concentrated or living in IDP camps. Those IDP camps, health, sanitary, food, and accommodation problems. And so, basically, the humanitarian crisis in Benue State in the last 10 years, it is not just something of today, in the last 10 years, has been very, very disturbing, to say the least.
Dr. Helen, I'd like you to weigh in. Let's take it to Dr. Helen, Prof. Dr. Helen, I'd like you to weigh in on this reality of the people and how we got here in the first place, because it talked about 10 years of living outside your home. Nobody's going to be comfortable. That is not a reality anybody wants to live with. Dr. Helen? If you can hear? Dr. Helen, if you can help me on mute so that we can hear you.
Okay, great. Can you hear me now?
Yes. Did you get my question?
Yeah, go ahead. You said...
I was saying 10 years in IDP camp. How did we get here, and why do we have the people still at the IDP camps?
Okay, so great question, and thank you for asking. How did we get here? It's one question that is linked to so many reasons. We have issues on resources, scarce resources. And before now, we always would think the issues were just between the herders and the farmers. But studies have revealed that, you have a climate change issues to this. You have issues of insecurity. You have, when you talk about scarce resources, the issues of land. Benue State is majorly an agricultural state. And you would notice that we have a boom in population. There's an escalation in the population growth around the Benue region, And then, but the land had not increased in size. And since the major occupation people who are farmers, that in itself created a lot of tension between herders who would just come and also would need the land to graze for their cows. So that had been one of the underlying issues. And of course, deeper is the issue of climate change, where the herders would normally just keep their cattle for water, and grass had all dried up, and the better green grass was found within the north central, which is Benue State. We also have issues of mineral resources, where we have persons who want to come and excavate Benue just because of the deposits of huge mineral resources at some parts of the state. So, but hugely so, if issues of insecurity were being tackled and timely, we wouldn't be where we are. I agree absolutely with Prof that people are living in the IDP camps, huge numbers of persons. The new thing that happened recently in Benue State was that the unofficial camps have now been all called official camps. But it doesn't in any way change the issues that the people there face. Issues of shelter, they don't have enough shelter. We have persons who are just living under makeshift shelters. We have issues of food. They are there and they are hungry. Imagine IDPs who were farmers and were producing enough food for the whole country and now living in deep hunger. Issues of education. Children for the past 10 years, 15 years. If you go to Ikwande local government, first we have wards that have been displaced not just for 10 years, but for about 15 years, ongoing, back to back, where nobody lives in the ward as we speak now. And also, children have not been in school. Healthcare, we have issues, rise in trafficking, because women cannot afford their daily income. So there's increased rate in trafficking. You know, the list can go on and on and on. You know, cheap labor among IDPs. So we are here, and I think the journey is still far, because as we speak, yesterday I was in contact with somebody in Way West, and as we speak, there was another threat letter that the community got, that there may be another attack before the end of January. So the issues are still on, the insecurity is still on, and persons are still living in the IDP camps.
Quite a lot to take in there, you know, this is also amid concerns about security in Benue State still persisting. There are reports of attacks in Katsina local government, and I'm coming to you now, Jessica. The reports of attack in Logo local government. There were even reports of attack on Christmas Day, 2024, and that brings me to my question. Some of these IDP camps. Some of these IDP camps are located in areas where there are security concerns. Jessica, perhaps you'd like to tell us about, you know, security in these areas where the IDP camps are also located, and you also want to share your own experience as well about your displacement. Jessica, you may need to unmute so that we can hear you. Okay, it appears as if we're unable to get through to Jessica right now, but we'll get to Jessica shortly. We understand that Jessica has an interesting story to tell about her own personal displacement, and would like to also know how she has been surviving these very challenging times. 100,000 persons displaced in Benue is quite a number. What is the provision made for those who are displaced in these IDP camps that have now all been categorized as official IDP camps? We understand Jessica is with us now. Jessica, go ahead. Did you get the question, by the way? Hello, Jessica.
Yes.
Okay.
For the IDP camp issues we are facing here is so pathetic. If you can hear me, I think I'm having network issues here.
Go ahead, Jessica. We can hear you now, loud and clear.
Can you hear me? Okay. In person of Jessica Oshio, I am also affected. As I speak to you right now, my community, my household, my mom is also living in IDP camp. She thought that staying there, the government would do something about them returning to the village soon.
Stop touching. Don't be touching it.
Go ahead, Jessica.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you. Go ahead.
Okay. So the security, concerning the security at the various places the IDP camp is located is not guaranteed. It's not, because I don't seem to understand where security people will be mounted close to these IDP camps, and at the same point, the headers will attack the IDP camps and people will be killed. I am speaking as a victim. So if I will express how I felt or what I think, I may be hitting the government raw, which I don't want to, because I'm speaking as a displaced person. The various places, the security, the IDP camps are mounted. You will always see security posts close to the place. I don't know whether they are there just for pictures, but whenever headers come, they attack these places, and the lives that will be lost, I don't really understand concerning security. So as being a victim, I don't think it's wise for me to say anything concerning the security at the various places the IDP camps are held.
I understand that, Jessica, but have you witnessed any attack personally?
Yes. Last year, my mom, as I said earlier, my mom is also staying in one of the IDP camps right now.
And the
government...
Go ahead.
Yes. When the government came in seat, it announced that the houses that are affected, the communities that are affected should go one place, to go and stay in one place so that their data will be collected and so that they will know the specific people or the number of people that are affected. So they moved them, unlike me, I was staying with her, my mom, in the house bed. Hearing the announcement, she moved to the IDP camp with the hope that something will be done to that and she'll be returned back home. If you try pulling these people, they are already old and they are used to where they came from. They are used to staying in their villages. They are used to going to their farms. So keeping them in town is very difficult. If you are affected, you will understand the points I am driving at. Trying to keep them under your care in town, of which they are already used to staying in the village, going to farm on daily basis, is very difficult concerning their age, even the young ones. If at all you can accommodate, if you at all have something to feed 1 or 2 or 5, how long will you continue? The economic state of it is very hard, as we all know.
So Jessica,
we saying yes. Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. I understand that because of security concerns, you may not want to talk about your personal experience during the attack. So we'll just have to rest on that. But where are you putting up currently?
In a rented apartment in Makurdi, where I'm staying with.
Okay.
My younger ones and extended ones that I feel, they should stay with me there and at least be going to school rather than staying with their mothers in the IDP camp.
All right, let's go to Ms. Victoria now. Jessica has talked about the concerns about the conditions of those in the IDP camps, and even those who were initially productive in their ancestral homes, but they're no longer productive currently at the IDP camps, which is what I want you to speak to. The state of affairs at the IDP camps for those who were agrarian, prior to this time, and now not having much to do. What arrangements are being made, or what advocacy should, CSOs, non-governmental organizations, be looking at to ensure that these displaced persons remain productive if they must continue to put up in these IDP camps?
Thank you, Bukola. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, thank you. First and foremost, I'd like to say that there's no way you can get them to be at their full potential as they were while they were in their communities and while they were living and doing what they know how to do best. Right now, what a lot of CSOs and donor agencies have tried to do under the term empowerment is just to try to teach them a new skill, something they can use to survive. But in teaching these new skills, you can't teach everybody. Remember, at the IDP camps, we have men, women, children, and then we have the aged. The men, most of the men in the IDP camps don't usually remain in the IDP camps. What they do is, in the morning, they go into the host community, they try to give themselves for labor, they are working there on people's farms, in the communities that are safe, they are out trying to just make ends meet. But when we go to the communities, we try, most times, the empowerment that comes is for women and girls. Because it is believed that women and girls are more vulnerable at this time. But we forget that we have the aged. Now, these aged people might be very old, but while they were in their communities, they were still doing something. Some of them were craftsmen. They had something productive they were doing. But right now, they are in the camps, and because they are so weak, they can't do anything. Now, even for the women and girls, when we go for empowerment and we teach skills, most of these skills cannot be deployed in the IDP camps. Let me give you an example. You teach 100 women in one particular camp how to bake or make confectionaries or soap. Where is the market for it? So every 100 women in one camp know how to make liquid soap, know how to make bathing soap, know how to do, but where is the market for it? Everybody is now making the liquid soap, at least for the first week. Who buys it? Who uses it? So it becomes challenging. Now there are some who have trained the young men on other skills, welding, fabrications, and things like that. Those young men have been able to go into host communities, into the city center to get one or two things to do. But a lot of people would still prefer to go back to their farms. I remember maybe a few years ago, like 5 years ago, there was talk that everywhere is safe, so community members can go back. We know how that ended. A few who attempted to go back to their communities were either shot and killed, or some just managed to escape with their lives. Because, like my colleagues have said, not just that they have been displaced, some of their communities have been occupied. So you displace them and then you occupy the community. So there's no talk of going back. Now, we're trying as much as possible to empower people. But remember that these people are people who are already traumatized. These are people who are already suffering from a lot. If you go to the camps, we've tried to hold some therapy sessions for children in the camps. You'll be so sad at what will come out of it. Just asking children to express themselves through art therapy. You find children drawing pictures of men holding guns, trying to shoot, or trying to show blood, just very gory pictures are what children are painting, which tells us the state of their mind. I am more interested in the mental state of the people. Because, yes, it's good to empower, but are we actually able to give them what they really want to learn? It's not easy. There's donor fatigue already, and even the NGOs working in the camps are tired.
All right.
So we have to keep, revolving, sending in new staff every time to reduce the effect, the traumatization. That's the secondary trauma on the providers of the services. So yes, we're trying to empower. There's a lot of work going on, but most times this empowerment is uniform across board, and there's no market for what we're training the people to do. So there's still a lot to be done.
Now, and what you've described, madam, is just it seems like a messy situation, something lasting for this long, and then you imagine the spiral effect, the children, so they will grow up to be adults. I mean, you wonder what that future would be like. So let me go back to Prof and just speak directly to this point. So the challenges are not peculiar to Nigeria or to that region, be it climate change, be it conflicts, having either herders or farmers. All of those factors and challenges are not peculiar to us. We see other climes going through this, and they found a way to resolve it and even thrive, flourish in spite of all of these challenges. So it's quite simple. It is a crime being committed. And that's why we have government. That's why we have law enforcement agencies. That's why we have the justice system. So can we just maybe speak to what it is? A crime being committed, people are not punished for it, and then it keeps continuing. Can we say it's as simple as that? All right, I'll come back to Prof. Looks like the connection isn't working out. So let me go to Dr. Helen. And same question to you, really, because it looks like it's quite simple, and that's for Dr. Helen. A crime being committed. There's meant to be the law to take care of the crime and the justice system to ensure that that crime is punished and we seek redress for the victims. Is it as simple as that for you, Dr. Helen?
Yeah, so I mean, I agree with you absolutely. Behind all of these perpetrators are people who are committing crime.
I didn't get the question very clearly.
Sorry.
Okay,
we'll come to you, but let's allow Dr. Helen land on the point she was making. Please go ahead, Dr. Helen.
So I don't think it's as simple as that. We're trying to say that we are in a nation that is totally unruly, where people escape after committing certain crimes. We're trying to say that our systems and structures are no longer working as a country. I mean, not pursuing the criminals and bringing them under law and giving them the appropriate punishment, so to say, is simply, we're also making a statement that Nigeria is becoming an unruly state, which I think is not right. So it is about the willingness of our leaders to put an end to this. We may have some theater, forgive me, let me call it that way, out there in the field being dramatized, where security agencies will mount vehicles, carry out some patrol in the field, so to say, for a while. But while they are still there, attacks are still ongoing, just like Jessica would say, even among the camps, in the host communities. Lands that have been taken and occupied, so much more the government should do, except if they are saying that within the government, we have persons who are compromised already.
All right, let me take this to Prof.
The government should have to come out strong and make a statement.
Right.
It's not as simple as that.
Right. Thank you, Dr. Helen. So, Prof, let me come to you now. I really hope you can hear me. Is there perhaps some nuance or nuances that we're not taking into consideration here? As I said earlier on, these challenges are not peculiar to us as a nation, or at least to that part of the country. We have this across the world, and they've been able to resolve it. A crime is committed, people are arrested, they are prosecuted, and then the law takes its course. So, Professor Okase, the same question to you, but maybe deeper. Are we maybe not taking cognizance of some nuances? Is there sentiments here and there? Are there times that maybe government law enforcement say, you know what, don't go and arrest because perhaps this might even mess things up the more? That's for you, Professor Okase. Okay, we'll come back to Prof, hopefully. So let me go back to Victoria, or rather, let me go to Jessica before we come back to Victoria. Jessica, I know it's a very tricky one for you. At least we're glad that you've been able to turn things around for yourselves, but there are still thousands more in those camps. Yes, you don't want to speak to security, but if you were to have a sit down with government, perhaps a heart-to-heart conversation, Jessica, from someone who has experienced it, from someone whose family members are still experiencing this, what would you tell them from your heart to their heart? And this is just being very honest. What are things you wish they knew?
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much for asking me this. I will first of all ask the government whether I am an indigent. I'll ask the government whether I am not a stranger in my father's land. If at all, I will be told that I am not a stranger and I am an indigent, I will go ahead and appeal to them. Keeping us in IDP camp is not the best. Returning us back to our various villages is the best you can do to us. We don't need your money, we don't need your rice, we don't need your food in IDP camps. All we need is going back to our place, our villages. As we are living in IDP camps now, we do go out, look for plots of land from people, the other neighboring villages that are a bit safe, hire these places, farm. At the end of the day, the villages, we hire these places from them. We cultivate the crops we plant, and they will harvest it, and you have nothing to say. Your money will be gone, what you planted will be gone, and you have nothing to say. You came to them, asked them for plot of land, paid, you planted, and they will harvest it because you ran out of your village. If at all you have access to go back to your village, at least you can farm something. It's the food that is feeding the nation at large. If we are stuck in IDP camps and we continue buying food, my people, how do you expect us to survive in IDP camps by just the food you give to us every monthly? At times, some months, they don't even see anything. I am staying in IDP camps. That is why I am saying this. I know what we are facing in IDP camps. Now, the various IDP camps have been merged in one place. I don't even see any hope of going back to our homes anytime soon. Because the last time I visited, we didn't even, the last time we visited the village, I could not even recognize my own village. Even with the military escort, we were able to get. If we lost any of us, we'll have to find money these hard times and paid security to accompany us to go and bury. Getting to our village, we'll have to be looking for where exact is our village because of the bush. Everything is down. You can only notice maybe a tree if one tree is still standing. Some of our government leaders at times I doubt at all if at all they have conscience. You see your people living in IDP camps and suffering like this, and you are not bothered. You are not doing anything, returning us to our homes. What do you really stand? How do you feel? Assuming it's your village, your people that are living in these places, can you sit at home and sleep peacefully? Your children are schooling. Your children are living under your homes in a very good, conducive environment. Other people, other parents, we are staying in IDP camps, and you are okay with that. If at all the security people, the posts that are close to these IDP camps, the headers always attack the IDP camps. That is where Mrs. Elizabeth, right, was saying something about. I said I am not convinced that the government actually wants us to go back to our places. They are not interested in returning us to our homes. If the security posts are close to these IDP camps, headers will come, penetrate the IDP camps and kill people, and nothing will be done. Does it mean that the headers have spiritual ways of flying into places and flying out? They don't have hideouts. There's an experience I had. I was going to one village to buy yam because I hawk to feed myself and to feed the younger ones they are staying under me. Even my mother staying in IDP camp, is through my hawking, I send food to her.
All right.
I encountered the headers on the way. We had to run inside bush. We hide for some times. After they walk past to the forest part, we reach the village. There are some few persons, some few men are still there. The ones that have mind, because actually if you come out of that village, they don't really have any other thing doing than roaming about and begging people for food. So some men do still insist to stay inside. When we got to the village, they told us that they have been seeing these headers. They have been entering with guns in the forest. That is why they gather in the night to sleep in one hut, in the one remaining building that is still standing. After that day, I came back. The next day, a massive killing occurred in that village. It's way west here, very close to Makodi. So you can imagine that. Even the villagers sees where these people are camping, yet the government is failing to see where these people that are attacking and killing us on daily basis are hosting.
You've made a great point. So let me take it to Dr. Helen. Dr. Helen, if you can hear us. There's a clear indictment from her on perhaps the complicity of government. Maybe government will have to come out to speak for themselves. 10 years down the line, what do you make of some of the things she has said? I just want to leave it at that. What do you make of some of this? Because for her, she doesn't feel that the government is interested in returning them to their ancestral homes. I know the government would like to respond, but what do you make of that statement? Dr. Helen, that's for you if you can hear me.
The government is not interested in our way.
I did hear you. Jessica speaking from experience, and of course nobody will stop her from airing her own opinion, and she is speaking out of what she has seen, she's speaking out of what she's felt, she's speaking out of what she knows. At the civil society space, we've carried out advocacy over time around the state government stepping in, or federal government at some point. I remember the other regime where civil society would stage a call using social media and works and all of that, just to draw the federal and state government's attention to the issues she raised. Once or twice, along the line or over the years, we see some attempts around the government to show that I'm talking about the state government now, to show that they are making some attempt to respond to these issues. However, we know it can be more than that. And then some of the arguments have been that when it comes to security, the autonomy is with the federal government. Now, if it's there, it means that they ought to do much more. We've also used around insufficient personnel among security, the security sector, and a lot of issues the government would normally put on the table, trying to justify why their response have been, permit me call it epileptic, so to say. But I think it is something the government should go back, put on their drawing table, and place what is topmost, what is the priority. Okay. If we are all indigent, why would you allocate 3, 4, 5 security personnel to one political personnel? Meanwhile, the same indigent who has the same rights, living in the same country, out there in the community, would not enjoy security.
All right, Dr. Helen, let's take it to Mrs. Victoria, just because of time. Ms. Victoria, maybe your response as well to some of the things that Jessica has said. 2 minutes, 1 minute.
When you say government, there's always that show, and we always hear it, that we want the IDPs to go back to their communities. But on the other hand, we're building more permanent structures for them in designated areas. So I get a bit confused. If you are building structures that are a bit more permanent, are you not indirectly saying that you people are going to stay here and you are not going anywhere, at least for the next 4 or 5 years? So I get confused there. If you're building more structures, more permanent structures, because we've always known that camps should be temporary, but in our case in Benue, our camps have become permanent because people should not be in camps for 10, 12, 13 years. So what the government is doing is misplaced for me. As long as these communities are not safe, there's no talk of anybody going back. Even the government themselves cannot go into the communities. You heard Jessica saying that when people die, you pay to go and bury your loved ones in the community. Who are the people? The concept of unknown government, you asked whether people are, is it not very simple? It's a crime. People should be punished. But we say we don't know the people who are perpetuating the crime. We say we don't know them, so they are unknown. We say there are people behind these things that are pushing or benefiting from it. In every crisis, there are people who are benefiting. And if people are benefiting, they are going to do everything to thwart it. What government needs to do is to find these people, bring them to order, and then look at making the communities safe. I can assure you that if the communities are safe, at least to a reasonable point, even the IDPs will be willing to go back as a community and rebuild their communities with some support from people. Right. But once nobody can enter those communities, then what we are saying is we're just beating around the bush. Security is the government's responsibility, and government has to sit up to it, whether we like it or not.
A fine place to just wrap it up. Victoria Daw is the Executive Director, Elohim Development Foundation, Social Development Consultant. We also had Dr. Helen Tennis Tengbe, National Coordinator, Community Links and Human Empowerment Initiative, joining us from Makurdi as well. Professor Patrick Okase is a Professor of History and Developmental Studies. Prince Abubakar Odi University in Nanyangba in Kogi State, also joining us via Zoom, as well as Victoria Daw, Executive Director, Elohim Development Foundation. Oshio Jessica, a displaced person who is now putting up at a location with her siblings while their parents are still at the IDP camps. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for coming on the program.
Thank you.
All right, so
thank you for having me.
We're not done with this conversation. We'll take a quick break. When we come back, we'll get to another layer of it. We'll be right back.
New Year resolution, but tech this time around. Hey, I mean, some people's techs, their gadgets are closer to them than their family members, right? Your mobile phone, always on it. So this morning, we want to set an agenda for you, right? Help you know how to use tech for good and not for harm. We're joined, of course, by Akim Bitoye, tech advisor on this PC Fix segment. Good morning, Happy New Year, Merry Christmas. It's a thing in Nigeria, so if they've not seen you for quite a while, they will make sure they catch up with the former greetings. Happy Easter, happy and all of that. But let's get right into it. As I said earlier on, a lot of us are very close to our mobile phones, right? And if you check the time you spend, for some people, it's been at least 10 hours on their devices daily, and then you ask them, how productive were you? And say, well, I was on social media, I liked, commented, argued and all, but you can use these devices for good. So let's help people set their New Year resolutions, at least when it comes to tech. So walk us through.
Okay, right off the bat, so there was this statistic I came across in December that said if an average person uses their phone for about 4 hours, 30 minutes daily, so in the course of a year, you would have spent 67 days or something on your phone, which is a lot. That's about 2 months. Your technology gadget is supposed to help you, to aid you, so to speak, but it can also be very addictive.
Absolutely.
You can spend time on it more than you should. So I just have a few tips on how you can increase your productivity, because we can only do so much. There's a whole lot of skit makers now, and you have millions of videos that can engage you, and you don't
and the
watch
platforms keep coming up with ways to keep you to stay longer.
Just we spoke about this a few episodes back, that the artificial intelligence is very smart.
Yeah.
Get smarter, and it gives you what you like.
So let's talk about setting screen limits, because it's a very tough one, but I think this is a year we all set screen limits and adhere to it.
Okay, I think I want to follow in that, because usually you would set New Year resolutions, then a week later we've all fallen down, fallen off the wagon. It's what it is. So setting screen time limits. All these gadgets, the manufacturers, the software publishers, put up this software, which most times we don't use. So you can actually set how long you want to spend on the screen. You set reminders, you set alerts on your phones. And what it will do for you is help you. You can set hourly reminders. Sometimes say, I just want to look at Instagram, 10 minutes, 15 minutes. Yeah, right. It's got doomsday scrolling. By the time you check, it's been an hour.
Yeah.
So these screen limits apps would help you do that. Then you should take screen breaks. If the first thing you reach out to in the morning is your phone.
Is there a problem? Is that a problem?
I'm not a medical expert. I would allow the medical expert to just say that.
It feels like addiction, right?
Have you seen someone's phone fall down in your presence before?
And it feels like,
what it does for us is, if we are always in the flow, you are always on the latest buzz, the latest G's, the latest happening, it would reduce your personal and organizational productivity. So if you need to do work, set screen limits. What it will do for you is allow you to touch grass. You can have time off your screen. Social media audits are nothing you want to do. I wonder, 20 years ago, in the early days of internet in Nigeria, I'm not saying internet in the world, internet in Nigeria, once you go online, you send mail, or somebody send mail, or Yahoo Messenger, you just chat with one or two people. You're not really concerned about what people think about what you think.
Right.
So, but these days, once you post, you have to go back and check 30 minutes, how many people have liked it, how many people have replied, I'm trending, yes.
The good old days.
Social media.
High Five. There was High Five then. High Five was a social.
Remember High Five?
I remember High Five. When life was still.
You've been around the block. So overindulgence in social media can be very draining and time wasting. So you need to check the accounts you're following. Those who are not beneficial to you, you can unfollow them. They don't charge you money.
Right.
I'm sure Elon Musk will not charge you for following someone on X. Then you should follow accounts that are beneficial. Yes, there's something called confirmation bias, where you follow those who
share the same
view and reinforce your existing beliefs. That's there. Then, of course, you can mute. If you don't want to unfollow, you can mute. Your health and your well-being is another thing I want to talk about.
Did you skip block?
Please, on purpose.
Anyway, go on.
So you can, we are very sedentary these days. For those who work in offices, we usually sit crouched in front of our computers from morning till evening. And it's actually doing more harm than good, because on that same seat we eat, we do not locomote. In fact, for those who are mobile, from your office, you get into your car, you just drive home, you get home, you sleep, maybe you get home around 10, 11. Then 4 or 5 a.m. you have to quickly make the journey across the Third Bridge.
Traffic again.
Exactly. So we sit a lot. So these health apps on your phones and on some of your wearables, that's a smartwatch, smart bracelets, would give you a reminder to stand up and just walk around, so that you can get your blood pumping. It actually improves your mood and your well-being. Then, of course, we have nutrition apps where you can track your calories intake for those watching their health, especially through nutrition. Wellness. Sometimes we're always in the know. We're always buzzing, always listening to something. There are sometimes you need to actually calm down and just tune off.
Thank you.
When we talk about Zen, it's not very popular in these parts. In the Eastern Asian countries, it's a big deal, where you just calm down, tune out, and find your center. I know for people in Lagos, I was born and raised in Lagos, so it feels like a foreign concept. Tune out.
But you still can. You still can find a way. Except your neighbor's generator is on, and they have to try
be nice generators. One thing we used to do back in the days was have reminders. You have a small diary you carry about, you have reminders, so you look through it, so you know what to do. But these days, you're easily distracted.
Sure.
One breaking news will happen and something is trending. Imagine this guy is trending. You've forgotten what you want to do. So setting reminders on your phone. Most times when we buy an expensive phone, like, I'm using the latest phone. Yes, but you are not using anything more than calling, chatting on WhatsApp, or maybe checking, browsing the internet. But it could be a whole lot more. It could be your personal assistant. So please use reminders on your phone to remind you to do the task you have to do. Most times, we think once you graduate, or for those who are not academics, so to speak, once you graduate, finish, I'm not doing anything again. However, there are brain training apps that you can actually do tasks, solve puzzles, solve some critical questions that get your brain juice flowing. The brain is like a muscle. The scientists have said.
So the more you work it,
the more you work it, exactly.
Interesting.
You notice those who play checkers, some of those who play these local games, they are exercising their brain. Yes, you can look at them and say, this one is just wasting time, they are not doing anything. Yes, but they have to strategize. You have to see how to win your opponent. So these brain training apps are rife on all mobile devices. You can download them. They give you puzzles. So while you're in transit, yes, please.
And I was just going to say that your device that you just look down on or you think is negative can actually be turned to a positive. You can just walk through these simple steps. One, set screen time limits. If you have children that use devices, you can also control it from your device as well. Ensure that these things are, you adhere to them in a very disciplined manner. He also talked about social media audit. Unfollow people that are not helping. Follow people that will help you. Block, mute. Those things are there for a reason. Health and wellness. Make sure you get apps that help you to move around, exercise and the rest. Set reminders and all. We have to wind down on this segment, but I just wanted to reiterate the point. But one more point I'd like you to make, and that's about accessibility quickly, because I know that it's also a thing when it comes to using mobile devices for good. So accessibility, and there may be a last tip that you want to give us.
Okay, for accessibility, most times we overlook the fact that technology has moved far beyond what we are currently using. For example, you can talk to your phone and it types what you are saying. Granted, local dialect may not be fully represented yet. However, if you speak, your phone can do that, and your phone can read out to you. So most times you do not have the time or the attention to read while you are doing other things. You can have your phone read out the text to you.
All right.
So that's an accessibility. The last point is, these days, I'm not sure anybody should still get lost in a metropolitan city like Lagos. Even if where you are going, you are not driving, just put on your phone, put the address on the phone. It will tell you how long it will take for you to walk there, or cycle, or drive.
There you go. So we hope we've been able to inspire you to really use your gadgets for good. And well, Akin just walked us through. We'd like to thank you so much, Akin Bitoye,
thank you for
Tech
having
Advisor.
me.
We'll circle back just to do some sort of review how well we've been able to adhere to these tips. But thank you once more for your time on the show. Well, let's go over to Jeff now. Jeff is going to take on a very important conversation right now. So Jeffrey, what you have for us?
Yeah, absolutely, Kayode. I enjoyed everything you guys are saying, and I've told him already. I've told Bitoye that I have some problems he has to fix, not just fixing on TV. Bitoye, thank you so much, guys. But let's move on to something else, and that has to do with the issue of these IDP camps that was started off the conversation at the very first segment of the program. And we need to bring up to speed some of the things that are going on within these IDPs. And we said that the government has to respond as well. But we have joining us the Federal Commissioner, National Commission for Refugees, Migrants, and Internally Displaced Persons, Mr. Tijani Aliyu Ahmed. He joins us via Zoom. Mr. Ahmed, thank you so much for joining us on the program.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bart.
Mr. Ahmed, I just want to, my questions are primarily what's the, one of the guests we had earlier, Jessica is her name. She was in the IDP camp, but she's left, but her parents are still there. And I want to throw the exact question she asked the government, which you represent. The question she asks is the government really interested in them getting out of IDP camp after 10 years?
Thank you very much. I think the National Commission for Refugees, which is an agency representing the federal government in the area of protection and assistance to people who have been displaced, either as a result of natural occurrences or by man-made. The National Commission for Refugees, through the intervention of the federal government, have been doing all its could to ensure that those people who are living in the camp exit the camp. So many factors have been put in place. Number one, Nigeria's government, through the agency, is building resettlement cities, IDP resettlement cities. IDP resettlement cities is meant to accommodate those IDPs who are living in the camp and who may not want to return back to their ancestral homes. They can go there and settle. And in the camp there, a lot of provision was made there. One, we have a skill acquisition center. In that center, we also have houses to accommodate them permanently. We also have a market, churches and mosques, police station to provide them with security, all provided within the ambit of the settlement cities. This the government is doing that to ensure that those who decided to live off the camp, we are giving training, we are giving skill that they can live for their life. This is part of the effort the government is doing to ensure that people who are living in the camp exit the camp. And not only that, of recent, we have started building skill acquisition centers in 6 geopolitical zones. We are now, and that construction is ongoing in Niger State for the North Central. We're also going to have one in the Northwest, in the Northeast, in the Southwest, in the Southeast, and then in the South-South.
All right, Mr. Ahmed, just because of time, just a moment, just 2 questions to follow up on what you said. First question is, are there people that are really not interested in going back to their ancestral homes? I would like you to respond to that, because everybody would like to go back to their ancestral homes. So I'm a bit curious as to why people don't want to go back, except the government has not provided safe spaces within those ancestral homes. Those are particularly the reason. On the second part, is this skill acquisition? A lady, one of the ladies we spoke to earlier said, when you train all of these people, where is actually the market for them to sell some of these things? So maybe you respond to those 2 questions.
All right. You see, we still have so many of them who might not want to go back to their ancestral homes. Take, for instance, those IDPs that are living in Kabusa, those ones that are living in Wassa, those close by Abuja, and those who are living within Karshi area. Those ones are already used to. We have been trying to remove some of them from that area and take them to where we have resettlement cities. We have one close to Abuja there in Kefi. Kefi is just about 40 kilometers. So we have been struggling all in year out to ensure that we remove some of them from the camp and put them there. But they were resisting, because after staying for more than 7-10 years, they became so used to the area, and none of them want to leave Abuja any longer. So these are the kind of people now. Because of that, we decided to build these resettlement cities in Kefi, which is just some 60 kilometers away from Abuja.
All right.
Yes, the answer is we have some of them who are not interested to go back, because most of the people that are living in the camp in Abuja area were those that are coming from Goza area in Maiduguri.
All right, Mr. Ahmed.
If you try to convince them they will still tell you that the security is not enough for them to go back home.
All right, Mr. Ahmed, so my apologies. So that has brought us to the point. It's not as if they are not interested in going back. It's because government has not provided safe spaces. So I wanted to contextualize that, but you've actually hit the point.
No, we still have some resettlement cities in Maiduguri, but because of their long living around Abuja area, you know, not everybody wants to live Abuja any longer. Okay.
All right, so let's talk about let's talk about Benue State. What exactly? Two questions as we wind down. Benue is particularly a pathetic situation. What is the federal government doing with Benue State? And in addition to that, I'm just worried that they were attacked in their communities. They found themselves in IDP camps, and then they are still attacked in. Why are you attacking people that are already displaced at displacement camps? So two questions. Benue, what is the government doing? And do you, has the government been able to find out why these attacks have also been successful in IDP camps?
No, you see, the issue of Benue, I don't think anybody that says government are not giving them any assistance, I don't think that has been fair. I remember I was in Benue, particularly in Ichua camp, which is the largest camp in Benue State. And that place, we have provided them with enough food items, constructed, drilled boreholes for them to give them clean water. And also, we are now making effort to teach them into this greenhouse farming. And as soon as we get out of the New Year break, we will be in Benue, including the Minister of Humanitarian Affairs, because the minister is very interested in that area. And Benue is one of the catchment area that we are going to face as soon as the New Year break is over. We are going to train them with this greenhouse agriculture. And not only that, I don't think there is anywhere or any camp, which I have not received any reports yet, maybe it has happened, where an attack has been launched on the IDPs who are living in the camp. I've not gotten that report yet.
Okay, Ms. Ahmed,
I'm speaking with you.
I understand, but somebody who lived in that IDP camp, whose parents are still in that IDP camp, just spoke to us moments ago saying it has happened. But have you visited the camps in Benue?
I was there. I was in Benue State. Actually, I was in Benue State. I went there with the Commissioner of Humanitarian of Benue State. We are there all through in the camp there. In fact, while I was there, of course, one of the IDP member fell sick, and we took care of all the medical bills there. So for anybody to say that they have been attacked in Benue, I don't think that is correct.
Well, these are eyewitnesses, so I don't know who to believe, whether it's to believe you or the person who said they experienced it. But at the end of the day, I think what the people are actually saying they want.
But there was no any report. I've never heard it over the radio or from anybody, from any corner.
Okay.
And nobody reported officially, either from the Benue State government or from the IDPs themselves, because we have a link. We have the link between the office and all the IDP camps we have in Nigeria.
We're totally out of time, Mr. Tijani, but I think what the people are saying is they would like to go back to their homes. That is a big picture. Tijani Aliyu Ahmed is the Federal Commissioner, National Commission for Refugees, Migrants, and Internally Displaced Persons, joining us via Zoom from Nasarawa. Thank you, sir, for coming on the program.
You're welcome. Thank you very much.
All right, we'll take a quick break now and switch gears from PRO to baking. That's the next conversation. Bukola takes this. Join us again.
Welcome back to the Morning Brief right here on Channels Television. You know that it's a potpourri that we always offer you. So this is the inspiration table. If you have New Year resolutions, you want to get through to your goals and achieve something by the end of 2025, of course, you may have one or two cues to take from my guests on this segment. And so Adejumoke Williams, PR professional and confectioner now, joins me on this segment. Good morning.
Good morning.
And welcome to the Morning Brief.
Thank you very much. I'm glad to be here.
So from PR to pastries, they, are quite complementary because you need one to push the other,
Definitely.
right? But tell us the backstory behind moving from PR to pastries.
Okay, so pastries, baking has always been in the family. My grandparents owned bakeries back in the 40s. And 40s? Yes, 1948 to be precise. That was when it was founded. It's called Adewumi Standard Bakery at that time. And they had this until, I think, after the Civil War, when, Nigeria happened and my grandfather had to lay it to rest. So baking has always been in the family. But the interesting catch was I did not pay any attention to bakery. I saw it growing up. It was such a very stressful thing to do. Back then there were there were no gadgets. There wasn't a lot of things that we could, work with. My mom also was a baker and a caterer. And I remember she would wake my brothers and I up, let's do this, let's bake. And I'll be like, why is this thing so stressful? And so I didn't have interest in baking. My dad would tell me, focus on what your mom is doing, and I'll be like, me, cake. I don't have that time. I'm a full-time corporate girl. And that went on for years until 2016 when I lost some weight. I used to be on the really big side. I lost some weight and my colleagues would ask me, what did you do? What did you do? What did you do? So that was how Dainty Delights was born. We sat on my table at the office and we just started discussing. And there and then we had a name, we had a slogan, we had everything. But then it was an healthy food company. So I was basically loading my car up with parfait in cups that I would go and sell to my colleagues at work. And by 2017, life happened. I lost my job and I was pregnant. And I just realized that, this thing that I ran from is looking like, there's something when you have a baby on the way and you just feel you can pack school lunches and you can do a couple of things. And I just said, okay, let's start with making banana bread. So I was a full self-taught baker. I started with making banana bread.
So even though you weren't paying attention,
I wasn't paying attention. Back then, it was really bad. I paid no attention. When did I lose that interest? It just didn't happen. It grew. Kind of. I remember my grandma was clocking 80 and we had not had lights for 7 weeks and we were planning for the party. And my mom, our inspiration for the cake was, Mom, you are a star. That was what she was going to spell. So she would wake us up. We would mix and mix and mix. Kilele, kilo day. So and we were young. I was like in primary 3 thereabouts. Why are you waking me up so early to do this thing? But we had to do it. And so I just said, no, this wasn't for me. So it was from that age that I'd actually just blanked out on baking. But after I lost my job, I had a baby on the way. I had to do something with my hands. And it felt like this thing that you ran from, it's inborn, it's in you. You have to, go back and see what you can do with it. So we started with making banana bread. I would sell banana bread. I'll make for the family. If I have cousins coming into the country and I'm going back, I'll pack some for them to take back, and that was just how we started. But then again, after 2017, my cousin Eniola was already into full-time baking. So I went to her to say, baby, you're going to teach me 1 or 2 things. And she said, oh, you know what? I won't teach you for free. I don't need your money, but I will not teach you for free because I need you to focus. I need you to concentrate. I need you to understand that you are learning a skill. So maybe I paid her 20K or something. And I had a one week intensive class with her on baking cakes, not even pastries, just cakes. And that was how we started.
And so adversity is good, right?
Yes, sometimes. I feel like sometimes when you are stuck in a spot, because I had a good job, I was doing I was doing well, excuse me, I was doing well, I was earning well. I didn't see any reasons to move. But sometimes God sometimes just wants to move you. He doesn't like it when you're complacent. It's just like, you know what, I'm going to move you for you to see the bigger picture and for you to know that life is beyond what you are at the moment. And I think that was just what happened in my own case.
And so Dainty Pastries is worth more than your salary job when you were, you know, a PR professional.
At the time when we started, no, it wasn't. No, it was not. I struggled. I'm not even going to lie. The tears, the everything you can think of. It was a roller coaster of emotions. I really, really struggled. But in 2019, I rested the business because, of course, I had gone back to work. So, and it was clashing. I wasn't able to meet up with customers' orders. I had a baby. You know, there were just a couple of things. So 2018, so I had to raise the business. And then I focused on I'd now moved from PR to experiential marketing. So I had to focus on my activations. I know how it can be. This morning you're waking up in Abuja, tomorrow you are in Kaduna because you're activating different brands. So with that, we rested the business. But then again, 2020, life happened again. COVID came.
Again,
came.
adversity.
COVID came, and again, I was pregnant with my second child. And this time I had to leave my work abruptly. So it was at that point I said, nah, it have do. I am going to focus fully on baking, and even if another job comes, I will take it, but I would not rest my business. And that was how it started. And I had 2 babies. I would go to work. I would come back. I would bake. I would wake up as early as 4 a.m. to decorate cakes. As I'm leaving the house for work, I'm delivering cakes, sending out.
So it seems we must thank your babies for timing their coming.
I think, yes, I actually do thank them.
But, you know, it's easier to make a decision to do PR, a paid PR job or a paid marketing job than to go into confectionaries because of, you know, the price of flour in the market currently.
Yes.
Tell us what your staying power is as we wrap up.
Okay, so one thing I realized is you can't stay, with the way the economy is, you really can't stay focused on one side of the business. When I was creating the business, I was very intentional not to call it Dainty Cakes. Because the bigger picture I had at that time was way bigger, was, you know, there had to be some allowance to expand. So with the current situation, we're still fully into cakes, but then we've introduced different arms of the business. We now do desserts, we do tapioca catering, we have Dainty Kiddies Affairs, popcorn, candy floss, ice cream. We have...
So what's the worth of Dainty confectionaries now? You don't want the taxman to come after you.
We can't see that.
But thank you. We must anchor at this point, and thank you for your inspiration.
You're
amazing
welcome.
story.
You're welcome.
And we hope that someone can take a cue from Mrs. Williams' story. Thank you so much for coming on the program.
I'm glad I did.
Yes, we'll be back again to bring you another inspiring story on this inspiration table after this time, well, on other editions. But we'll take a break. When we return, we'll bring you another wonderful part of the morning brief. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Started with a post on X. As people were trying to recap on their year, and a particular user on X, Ezioma Kalu, put up a post where she said, this year I read 150 books. I smashed my 2 years record. That's reading records. I also taught myself Korean from absolute beginner to intermediate level, and as I speak, this particular post has gotten over 1 million impressions and lots of comments. So this morning we thought, hey, how about we bring that user to you on the show this morning? We're joined by Ezioma Kalu, writer and book influencer. She joins us via Zoom from Enugu. Ezioma, good morning. Welcome to the Morning Brief.
Good morning. Thank you for having me here.
Well, I know you've gotten a lot of commendations, backlash, doubts, and all of that. So let's just start with the elephant in the room. Did you really read 150 books? If you did, how did you read them? What was the volume of the book? I can go on and on, but you get the whole shindig. This is something you've gotten for days now, Ezioma.
Of course, I read 150 books in 2024. And how I did it, I just read every day. Every day, I make a conscious effort to read books. When I wake up in the morning, my routine is normally I would pray, and then after praying, I would read. I have an app on my phone, DB app. I use it to read, and I also use it to listen to audiobooks. Then I would read maybe one chapter, maybe two chapters, maybe three chapters. And one thing people fail to understand is some people are fast readers. I am a fast reader. I read from my phone, and then I set my day. While doing my chores, I can listen to audiobooks. I'm listening to audiobooks, the narrator is narrating the stories to me, and I'm doing my chores. And then during the day, I can just find a time to read my paperbacks. I read books of 400 pages, 300 pages, 200 and something pages. And there's something I do. After each book that I read, I review them on my social media platform. I would write something like, my first book of the year is blah, 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 blah. I review it. So I use social media to track my readings. So whenever people tell me, whenever people ask me, are you sure you read this book? Are you sure this? Are you sure that? I'm always taken aback because the track record is there. You can always check my social media platforms. So to answer your question, yes, I read 150 books in 2020.
So a lot of people will be curious to know how much of retention of these books you have. You know, there's one thing to read a lot of books. How, in terms of retention capacity, so let's give an example. You read your 400-page or 300-page book. How much of that do you internalize and you can, you know, review? Let's say maybe 10%, 20%, 30%. Let's see how much of a genius you really are. That's what is on the minds of people.
Okay. If I read a book, I am always immersed in the story I am reading. I don't know how to separate myself as a different entity, as someone experiencing the book from a secondary personnel. I am immersed in the story. And so I follow the story from the first chapter to the last chapter. And when I write reviews, my reviews are usually long. Characterization, the plot. I think I have a great retentive memory, if I do say so myself. So every book that I read, if you wake me up any day to tell you about it. Some books that I read in my primary school, I still remember them. Like I read Dizzy Angel by Great Joseph when I was in primary school. But even now, I can narrate everything in that story. I know the dialogues, I know so many things. So I can say I have a very great retentive memory.
I almost wanted to ask, what do you eat to keep the memory?
I want to go to a touchy subject. On the one hand, your story is inspiring because it just touches at the heart of our society, learning, education, and we decided to have this conversation to encourage people, really. Reading is not just for the fad, it's not just for, I read books. There's actually learning when you read. You learn from people's experiences, it expands your vocabulary, helps your critical thinking. Reading is actually, and that's why you notice lots of leaders are readers. I think there's a saying, it's almost like cliche, but that's what it is. So we wanted to spotlight your story, encourage people, also help people know that they can reach that goal of reading one book per month if you were able to do 150 in a year. But let me touch on this very interesting topic because I saw comments. People were saying, a woman, they read 150 books. How will you find husband? Ezioma, I mean, I'm sure you've seen those comments. How did you respond to that, really?
Okay, this is not something that is new to me. I've been trending for 3 years now for reading many books, and comments like that, I'm used to them. For that particular one, I want to say something, and it's about the internalized misogyny and the preconceived notion that a woman has to have a man before the woman becomes something. And that is why I am here to say that women, we need to decenter men from whatever plans we have. You are your own separate entity. You can be whoever you want to be. You can do whatever you want to do without having a man at the back of your mind. I think This is something that has always been there. But we should fight the status quo. This is something that has always been there. When women accomplish something, people try to pull them down. People try to make them to crumble, to shrivel, to be under the shadow. But no, we need to decenter men. I am a woman, and if I want to read 200 books in a year, I will do that because I am my own person. And if I am achieving something, I am achieving it as Ezioma Kalu, and not Ezioma, someone that is under the shadow of a man. So this is a wake-up call to everybody, to women especially. You can be whatever you want to be. You can achieve whatever you want to achieve, and you don't need a man's validation. You don't need people to attach you to a man. You are your own person. So anything you want to do, start today. Decenter men from your plans, and you can achieve whatever you set your mind to. So that's my response to comments like this. I don't center myself around men or my success. I don't attach it to men or to any other person apart from Ezioma Kalu. I am the person that read 150, and I am the person that owns the success and the accomplishment.
We're very proud of you, and you have our 100% support. Okay, be what you want to be. You don't need a man. If you find a man, fine. But just keep breaking those glass ceilings. Or is it shattering now? They call it shattering glass ceilings. But maybe a little advice you can give to a lot of people, because Kayode has raised the issue of education in Nigeria, which is quite critical. If you were to advise people on how to, they may not be able to go 200 or as many books as you've read, 150 and all of that. Some are even struggling to read one book in a whole year. What will be the best advice you give to them as we wrap up?
Okay. The best advice I'll give to them is read at your pace. You do not need to read 150 books or 30 books in a year. You just need to find your own pace and read. You can read a page a day, a chapter a day. The most important thing is that you're reading. And stories are important because they shape us and they make us more empathetic. They teach us about human nature. So I would advise people, if you want to learn, you cannot say that you have lived in this life. You don't have stories. If you do not interact with people, and you must know other people's stories. Stories shape you. They teach you how to live your life. So you can start by reducing your screen time. I was lucky to be born in a generation where there was no internet, so we read so much growing up. But now, this generation, there is internet. And it is unfortunate that the internet can be a two-edged sword. It can be used to kill, it can be used to build. So in a world where there are so many distractions, each trying to gain your attention, you can make a conscious decision to allocate a specific time of the day for you to read. When you are reading, you are enriching yourself, all parts of your being, mentally, physically, financially, spiritually, and otherwise. Right. Reading makes you a better person. So you can start today to read.
Ezioma, fantastic work you're doing. How many have you done this year quickly already?
Just one. I'm on my second book.
She said just one. In just 3 days, just one. That's a lot for some people already. Ezioma, we have to thank you so much. I hope we've been able to put some more insight and context to your story. And of course, we're rooting for you as well as others who are voracious readers and learners. Thank you very much. Wish you a very, very booky 2025. Speaking of bookie.
Thank you for having me.
All right, we've been speaking to Ezioma Kalu. Speaking of bookie, Bukola joins us.
Well, we need Ezioma to read more of those books so that she can dismantle a lot more internalized misogynies. I like that when I heard that, and the fact that she's Ezioma, yes, and the fact that, she says you can do everything that you want to do as a woman without attaching a man's name to it. That's just brilliant. We need more of those confident dispositions in women, such that they can make their mark and make the right choices in men.
Let me start a debate. So women don't need men after all?
I haven't said that, Kayode.
All right. We have
Jeffrey, what did you hear?
I hear close. I'm Jeffrey Ezioma. Bye-bye. I'm
Bukola Koka. See you next week.
Hey, let's keep working together, okay? We need ourselves, but you don't have to thrive with someone else's, under someone else's shadow. I'm Kalu. Sunrise Daily is next. Goodbye.